Thank you for playing this video. My name is Larry Michael. I'm with the Rummel Agency. What I'd like to talk to you about today are the optional coverages on your Michigan no-fault auto policy. You may have these coverages, you may not, but they're optional coverages, so your agent may not have asked you about them and you may not have them. So I'm going to be talking about some coverages on your policy. I am going to make oversimplifications, I'm going to take some liberties with details, and I'm going to throw in some opinions. The goal here is to get you to get fired up about talking to your agent about some serious aspects of your policy that protect your financial future. I'm not trying to turn you into an insurance agent. You'll notice a couple of terms I will not be using today: PLPD and full coverage. Why don't I use them? Because you don't find them in your contract. These are slang terms that get interpreted like world peace. What does that mean? PLPD, what does that mean? Hopefully your agent continues to ask you loads of questions after you say, I want PLPD. From now on, don't use these terms. All right, there are 3 coverages on your Michigan auto policy. You might have, you might not have. If you've got a loan on your vehicle, you do have physical damage coverage for your vehicle, and that looks like collision and something called other than collision. I'll get to that shortly, but you have choices on how your deductible works and how much you pay for a deductible. Next item, damages you win in court. This is the most least understood coverage in the policy. We're going to get into that in detail. And then finally, what we call Minitour. If you become on the hook for somebody else's deductible because you're at fault in smashing their car, your policy pays their deductible for them. Without that, you get chased around in small claims court. All right, let's talk about physical damage to your auto. Collision. You're driving and you hit something, like another car. This is a specific type of coverage. It has some unique qualities to it because on one hand, you can pick how big your deductible is, and generally the higher deductible you pick, the less you pay for insurance. Although at higher levels, the trade-off diminishes, so you have to be careful with that. But there are flavors of collision. Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. There's broad, standard, and limited. Broad form collision is if you're in an accident and you're not at fault, you don't pay a deductible, your car just gets repaired. Nothing out of pocket for you. Standard form is you pay a deductible no matter what. That's how a lot of people pick this coverage. You save a few dollars for that, but no matter what happens, you're going to pay a deductible. And then limited, which you couldn't pay me to sell you. Limited is if you're in a collision and it's your fault, you get nothing. Don't know why you pay for that coverage. If you have it, get rid of it, upgrade at least to standard. So the other type of physical coverage that you can get on your policy, and if you have a car loan, you have this coverage. It's called other than collision. Welcome to insurance, we have funny terms. They used to be called comprehensive, but we're trying not to use that word because this coverage is not comprehensive. It's a misleading term. So you've got collision and other than collision, like everything in the collision bucket and everything that didn't land in that bucket. In general, the most claims we see for comprehensive have to do with hitting a deer or your car being vandalized. Those are the most common claims. Choices here on other than collision are what deductible do you want? And sometimes if you choose to get comprehensive, you also then have the ability to get towing and car rental. Some insurance companies will sell you towing and car rental no matter what else you've got. A lot of them connected to your comprehensive coverage. Talk to your agent about that. So you've got the choice. Unless you have a car loan, you have no choices here really. If you don't have a car loan, you can pick whether to have collision or comprehensive, one or the other. It's up to you. If you have a new car, you can get an endorsement that 30 days after you buy a new car and someone steals it, the insurance company buys you a new car, not a car that's 30 days old. Those come in different forms, but they're available for you. And unless you have a Lamborghini or an exotic or a vintage Mustang, your claims are going to be resolved more or less at market value. So if someone steals your 3-year-old car, you get another 3-year-old car. You get the funds to buy another 3-year-old car. If you have a 3-year-old car and it gets stolen, the insurance company does not buy you a brand new car. All right. So here we are. Uninsured and underinsured motorists. The most least understood coverage in the world. I'm going to try to explain it to you briefly right now. Here's how it works. You're driving along and somebody with no insurance creams you. You're in the hospital, you're banged up. Okay, your medical policy covers all of your costs. But let's say you can't work anymore. You can't work for 5 years. Well, now you can sue for this. We're a no-fault state, but this is where you can sue. But if you're trying to sue somebody who has no insurance, they probably don't have a lot of money either. So in that event where someone hits you, you're able to sue for lost wages, lost income, but they don't have anything. In the event you win that suit, your policy pays you. It's your protection against people with no insurance. Unless you have this coverage, you get nothing. I've seen it in real life. A friend of mine didn't have uninsured, underinsured motorists. Self-employed construction guy, great guy. He gets T-boned by this lady on one of Saginaw's famous matrix of farm roads where everybody flies. He couldn't work for a long time. And she had really low liability limits, so her insurance company paid the $20,000, but he was out thousands and thousands of dollars in lost income. Too bad. If he would have paid $10 a year, he could have had $100,000, $200,000 of lost income. The coverage is really inexpensive. If you don't have it, you're missing out. All right, the last coverage here, Minitour coverage. It has nothing to do with torts, but it all has to do with if you're at fault and you run into somebody and maybe they have standard collision and suddenly they have to pay a deductible because you blew a stop sign. Minitour pays for their deductible. If you don't have this coverage, you write them a check for their deductible. And how much does this coverage cost? Probably less than that tort you're looking at on your screen. You're crazy not to have this coverage. But to the state of Michigan, it's optional, again, so you might not have it. Okay, let's look at insurance from the perspective of protecting your financial future, because that's what this fresh perspective is all about. If your auto is damaged in an accident, and you can easily afford to replace it or fix it, why even buy the coverage? Why have comp and collision? Oh, I use comp. Why have collision and other than collision if you can easily afford to fix your car or replace it yourself? Generally, insure what you can't afford to lose. But if you can't afford to lose your car, can you afford higher deductibles? If so, that could manage your premium and help you pay a little less. And you have to work with your agent to figure out the trade-off. A $250 deductible is expensive. $500 deductible is less expensive. $1,000 less expensive. But a $2,000 deductible might not really do anything for you. You gotta play with that a little bit. Okay. Second question. If you're creamed by somebody who has no insurance or has state minimums, which are laughable, and you've lost 5 years of wages, do you want to pay $6 a year to have that covered? Or do you want to pretend it doesn't exist and be at risk for your future income having a big dent in it? Your call. But for the price of a Big Mac, it can be covered. I don't know why you wouldn't do this. And finally, if you cream somebody, their car is damaged, you're paying a deductible, wouldn't you like just to have your agent take care of that and go on with life? You can, for the price of a cheeseburger. Okay, so those are your 3 optional coverages. According to the state of Michigan, they're optional, but if you have a car loan, physical damage is not optional. You've had to purchase that. The uninsured, underinsured motorists, optional. You might not have it. If you don't have it, get it. And then the Minitour, that's where you're paying someone else's deductible. Is that a big deal to you? Maybe, maybe not. For the price of a cheeseburger, you don't have to think about it. All right, so what's next on these video series? The next video is all about the reform to our no-fault system. The goal in this series has been, if you understand how it is today, reform makes more sense. If you don't get what we have today, talking about reform makes a really difficult conversation. So play the next video and learn something. You'll be glad you did. Thanks for watching.